Welcome to Pennsylvania in Focus. I'm Kristen Smith, Pennsylvania editor for the Center Square. Joining me today is the Center Square's Pennsylvania reporter, Anthony Hennon. We suffer for everybody else's comfort. Critics of the most recent liquefied natural gas hub proposal say that was one of your headlines this week, Anthony. For months now, you've been following a proposal in southeastern PA to create a LNG hub. And it's not exactly been an easy sell for the people who live there. And so I would like for you to start by just telling us, what is an LNG hub and why is there a task force about it?
Yeah, so essentially an LNG hub is a way to export natural gas, usually overseas. Essentially, you have a terminal that liquefies the natural gas, and then it's pressurized, it's shipped across. Generally, we see hubs like that. There's one in Maryland, but a lot of this growth has been down in Louisiana and Texas. I'm exporting the natural gas down there. The point of this one would be to plug in Pennsylvania's natural gas more into international markets rather than taking it all the way down through the south around Louisiana to export out. The idea here is that this could cut down shipping times by 30%, roughly 4 days or so, compared to what the standard now is about 12, grow Pennsylvania's natural gas market and gives a boom there. So last year, there was created the Philadelphia LNG Task Force, which is also signed into law by former Governor Tom Wolf, essentially looking at how viable it would be to create one just south of Philadelphia and nearby Chester. And so this week was the third meeting that the task force has held. And so you had generally a variety of different industry speakers promoting this as a good chance to grow natural gas, a good economic opportunity, not only for Pennsylvania, but for Chester specifically. But you also had a lot of opponents of this arguing a lot of this local opposition is tied into other things happening in Chester. They have an incinerator down there that imports a lot of the area's trash and burns out. And so Chester feels they already have a number of environmental issues. You see elevated asthma levels in children down in Chester. So there's a lot of local opposition to getting this built, regardless of the potential economic benefit from it.
And is it just Chester, or is there surrounding counties that also find this concerning? I mean, Southeast PA is probably the most heavily populated region of the state, so I can imagine that it's not just people who might live within a few miles of this proposal.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see opposition to it in Philadelphia and other nearby counties. Chester's in Delaware County, but you'll have opposition from Chester County. This would also require most likely more pipelines to be built in the first place. And you also, of course, have the usual concerns about increased travel, increased heavy truck traffic.
So you had mentioned that there is questions about the economic impact that this would have. Can you get a little bit more into what supporters of this hub say would be the economic impact?
Yeah, so I mean, supporters are arguing this could be a very big economic impact. An economic impact study, whether you trust the certainties in that or not, it argues that over 5 years, you would see about 31,000 jobs come into the area and create $7 billion of what they call total output. So, there's this argument that this will create a lot of construction jobs, a lot of jobs for the trades, and hopefully help grow Chester. Locals are not as swayed or impressed with that. From Chester City Councilman and presumptive mayor, Stefan Roots, he argued that new polluting industries are not welcome in Chester. The health and safety of Chester residents have been harmed for too long. He also said Chester doesn't have a single primary care doctor left in the city to treat our citizens. LNG will discourage new investment in homes and businesses. An LNG terminal will result in population depletion, which has also been a long-run issue for the city of residents generally leaving, either go out more into the suburbs or into the city itself. But there's a concern that even if you would bring in the LNG terminal, other local businesses or industries would get pushed out eventually.
Okay, so what's next for this proposal? I mean, are there more task force meetings, or what is the next steps here?
Oh, so it's not quite clear. I don't believe there are any scheduled task force meetings after this. There's kind of that opaque process of government where eventually we should see some sort of report come out with the results of this task force, maybe a public comment period, but it's going to be another few months down the line at least, if not longer. So we're generally waiting to see what the task force decides to do and how they want to move forward on this.
Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For Anthony Hennon, this is Kristen Smith. Please subscribe and thanks for listening.